Good.
All right. Are you guys ready to hear a couple things from me about a trip? All right, let's see. Okay. So this is a kind of a travelogue slideshow with some videos of a recent trip I took. I was out of the country on a sabbatical time, thank you to the church, for about 3 weeks. And my idea was to go and visit mission partners and projects of our church, people that we connect with at a distance, and I've never visited before, I've never seen. So I wanted to go to 3 areas: Lebanon in the Middle East, Uganda in East Africa, and Kenya, which is right next door. And as a church, we have connections in all those places. So this is not a sophisticated slideshow, and we're going to go through it fast. Is that okay with you? We're going to go fast. I know what I want to do is interlace pictures, stories. If you have a question, raise a hand. You can turn those off. Che, let's see. That might hurt her. Is that better? Is that okay for our camera? Okay. Alrighty. And then I'll interlace kind of commentary and whatnot. All right. So I arrived from SFO to Beirut, Lebanon. Scenic Beirut. Here's what it looked like. That's the ATM machine. If you Google Beirut and you look at Google News or something, you won't want me to go there. You won't want to go there. And that's because they've had recent unrest, a lot of street protests that have been in the news. It's really an economic crisis, which is related to political crisis, more so than sectarian. What I experienced there and what I learned was it wasn't like Muslims and Christians against each other per se, but it's really economic. And so people are mad at banks. They've defaulted on their loans, their international loans. And so they took it out on this ATM machine. Okay. An interesting thing about Lebanon is it's really sectarian in that there's a lot of different groups and sects within the country. It's a confessional system of government where each branch of government is controlled by a different religious group, including Roman Catholics and Muslims, Shia Muslims, and Sunnis. So it's sort of like this really interesting mix. This is Father Nicholas of the Orthodox Church. It's called St. Mary's of the Assumption. It's in a part of Beirut called Hamra, which is right near American University of Beirut, which some of you are familiar with. It's the elite university of the Middle East. So he has this community, which includes a church, includes a really new office center, a dental clinic, a fellowship hall. This is where they have meals. They have a school, they have a seminary, and all the people who are Orthodox go there. It's kind of like a parish system. So he was a really, really nice guy, and he showed me around quite a bit. I visited the Near Eastern School of Theology, Near East School of Theology, NEST, and that's a Protestant seminary that serves Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon. And our church, PCLG, have been supporters of this school for over 20 years. And when I met with, that's their president, George Sabra, who was at Princeton Seminary with my dad, who's here, at the same time, and he pulled out a book and showed me a picture of my dad. And it kind of looked like me. I was like, wow, that's weird. So, that's right. So the Near East School of Theology, it's a cool place. They educate Protestant ministers from those places, men and women who come. This is a street scene. There's some street scenes of Lebanon. It's a mix. Partially, it looks kind of like run down in a certain way and kind of like gritty. And then other parts are glittering and nice. It's really diverse. Some parts are kind of like, you're like, ooh, that's a rough neighborhood. And other parts, it could be Los Gatos. It looks really nice. People dress up quite a bit in Lebanon. I was underdressed everywhere I went. They dress kind of chic. You know that European chic? Where if you go to like Paris and everyone's like looks better than you. And you feel bad about yourself. It's like that. They're very like black or navy blue colors, really slim, coiffed hair. Women there, some Muslim women wear head coverings, but not all. And most women have uncovered heads, so it looks sort of just like Europe in a way. Men dress up quite a bit, and they have beards, which they like put like a little sheen on. You know, it's really a lot of barber shops and salons, a lot. Jewelry stores, sort of very, in a certain way, fancy, I thought. Interesting street scenes. There's a mosque right through there. And this mosque is right on the corner of Martyrs Square in Beirut, Lebanon, which is where these street protests have happened and where a lot of other things have happened. There's been violence there. This is the only place in Beirut that I saw army on the streets. They were surrounding this whole area. There were some encampments. And it's a beautiful mosque, though. Right outside, I met this guy, an entrepreneur. He had a minivan with an espresso maker in the back. And he served me a great coffee right out of the back of his minivan outside of the mosque at Martyr Square. So check him out. He also told me he'd been to the United States before. I said, where? He said, San Clemente, California. Whoa, his cousin lives down there. I was like, hey, that's a nice spot. All right. This one is just to show you something. This is that mosque, that same mosque, and next door is a church. Churches and mosques coexist. They're right next to each other. The Christians and Muslims, they live right next to each other. They're neighbors, they're friends. They do intermarry, and that causes other issues, but like that's part of the society. So it's not cordoned off. It's not just one thing. It's really a mix, a really interesting mix. There are tensions around that, including history and present day. There are some armed groups that still operate, like Hezbollah, and also some Christian militia groups. I was walking in a neighborhood and I saw this symbol up on the wall, and somebody said, that's a symbol for this Christian militia group. And they're like really tough, and they're showing this is their territory. I was like, ooh. And so then like later that night, I was down this alleyway in the middle of the night, like not late, okay, late at night, after dark, getting like a sandwich from this sandwich guy. And I looked at this, and his friend was hanging around, and he had this medallion around his neck, and it was that same symbol for that militia. And I was like, ooh, thank you for the sandwich, I'm leaving now. So, there's some of that's there, but it's not the feeling of the place. If you're in Beirut today, like a tourist, you would feel safe. You'd be your senses would be heightened because it's really interesting and diverse. In fact, I love Beirut. I'll just tell you that. This is right near the shopping mall, which is like all name brands everywhere. It's 100% name brands that you've heard of. It's like too fancy. I didn't even go in. I was like, oh, I have a mall at home. So that's there. This is Saad Hariri, who was the previous prime minister until January of this year when he was ousted in street protests. His father was Rafiq Hariri, who was assassinated some years ago. He's still a player in Lebanese politics. You see a lot of political people up on big billboards. You know how you do in some countries where it's like their leaders are everywhere? It's sort of like that. Lebanon is right on the Mediterranean Sea. That's where it's located, just kind of north of Israel, right next to Syria. It's beautiful. Look at that. I captured that shot on iPhone. Oh yeah. There are these things there called, I think Pigeon Rocks, something like that. And there are these really beautiful rock formations. You just walk along. I went running not every day, but most mornings along the ocean there, along the sea, and people are out strolling like that. I'm by the water, and in the distance you can see snow-capped mountains. Lebanon's really beautiful. Has a hard history, but it's really beautiful. This is a dinner that I was at, and I met up with these missionaries. So that's the wife, El Marie, and then Scott is the husband. They're the kind of Presbyterian couple. That's my friend Steve, who some of you know. He's my Peace Corps roommate, and he comes around on some adventures. Martha Wills and I were with him in Haiti some years ago. And then this is a family who are neighbors of the Parkers, of these Presbyterians. They're next, downstairs neighbors, Lebanese, and we just had dinner together. It was really interesting. He's a business consultant. She works in schools, and then their son's a medical student. And they were all talking about, and they were Christians, and they were all talking about what's our future in our country? Do we have a future? Young people there really feel like they might not have a future. And that's Christian young people partially, but also any young people. They feel like there's stagnation, there's political gridlock, they're like, what's our future? So people who have means often try to leave Lebanon to come to the United States or somewhere else to either study or live. But they were really interesting. This is in their home. So it was neat to just be in a Lebanese people's home. And we had some of this, what's that anise flavored stuff?
Arak.
Arak, it's like arak. Is it called is it arak? That's what it is? Yeah. So it's Iraqi? Rocky is it? Yeah. I thought it was rocky. Anyway, it's the same kind of thing. It was delicious. Okay, here's a video for you just along the sea. You want to see a little video?
Yeah.
Mediterranean, playing a little paddleball. They invited me to play with them. That's really nice. Hey. I was on a run, I couldn't do it. But this is my friend Steve and me. In the middle is Scott Parker. He's our Presbyterian missionary that we support there, along with his wife, El Marie. He took us all around. We went to a school called the Blessed School, which is a Christian school serving special needs kids. It started as a school for the blind. It's supported by Christian churches and in the United States, and Lebanon, and Europe. They make a lot of handicrafts. So this is like special needs kids of all kinds now go there. So they were showing us all kinds of handicrafts. They make basket weaving, and this girl, she's singing, but it's like a long song in Arabic, so I'm gonna keep moving. But it's beautiful. Some kids, they have a band there. Their music teacher is blind, and he taught them. I'll play a little clip here. So you can think about anyone who has special needs in our own country, right? Students, people in our own families, our community, how hard that can be. And then imagine in a place where there's less resources and there's more social stigma. And so it's really a great school. We visited all the classrooms and met so many kids. They're supported partially by these religious groups, but then also by the government. Gives a baseline of support for teachers, because teachers are government employees there, even though it's a Christian school. Same with Muslim schools. They have, the teachers are supported by the state. So, very interesting. On the wall, just, I've come that they may have life and have it more abundantly. That's Jesus' words in John 10:10. And I felt like, what a great motto for a school like this. Have more life and have it more abundantly, even in hard circumstances. It's just a kind of a cool street scene, walking around Beirut. This is the old Holiday Inn Hotel, which is kind of famous in Beirut because it was a sniper nest during the Civil War, and it was like blown up and pockmarked and attacked and retaken. And then most of the city was rebuilt after the 15-year Civil War, but this one was not, because there's a legal battle over it. And so it's still there. It's kind of like this monument. There was some army guys who were there. They didn't want me taking their picture, but they let me take this picture. And it sort of stands right on the, it's like oceanfront property. Beautiful. It's expensive, I'm sure. But they haven't done away with it. And it's sort of this reminder of what the Civil War was like, when the city was divided along sectarian lines. Christians here, Muslims here, and the green line was where they met. And that's where I was staying. Where it was rebuilt. So it's a very safe area now, but that's where it was in Civil War. Not safe, for sure. Just, some guy making fresh orange juice on the street. Delicious. For like $1. You guys agree? Nice. Snow-capped mountains. Ooh. We drove over the mountains out of Beirut up towards Syria, halfway to Syria in the Bekaa Valley. And we went to this school that was being run by the Presbyterian Church there for Syrian refugee kids. And these are some of the kids. And we just walked in, and we met these beautiful kids. And they just wanted, as soon as we walked in, they were grabbing us. They were there. Let's see what this video shows us. Video mode. Can you say hello? Can you say hi? Hello. What is your name? Hi, what is your name? Oh, hi. What is your name again? What is your name?
Muhammad.
Okay, nice to see you. Nice to meet you guys. Yeah, hello. What is your name?
My name is Ahmed.
Oh, hi. Nice to meet you. Hi, what is your name?
My name is Mother.
Nice to see you. Okay. Wow, cool. This is your school? This is your school? Yes. Hi, guys.
Yes.
Yes? Yes? Okay, we'll see it. Wow. Beautiful kids. I mentioned the other day in church that these are all, there are 100 kids, all Muslim kids, who've come to this school run by this Christian church, and there's a lot of trust building that had to happen between those groups. The parents of these kids were not sure they would let their kids go to a Christian school because they're not used to that in Syria, and then they basically built trust over time, and they came to know, yeah, this is a good place for our kids, this is okay. So it's a kind of a beautiful thing. The kids are there. This is their director, who's a woman, which is different as well for some of the Muslim families, but they said that's how we do it, so here you go. Here's an old video. You want to see a greeting?
We welcome you to school today. School today. School today. We welcome you to school today. Please come and play. Please come and play.
Oh, they're so good. That's another one. Okay, so they're lined up, they're greeting us. We went to classrooms and just kind of saw some of them. This one reminded me of Theo with that haircut. All right, we'll see what they say. Yeah. Good job. Yeah, they're getting it. Interesting thing about Lebanon, English is the language of instruction, not Arabic. Or French is also possible. All schools are in English or Arabic, or in French rather. So if anyone who's gone to school learns English. So these kids are learning it, they're Syrian. In Syria, they might be taught in Arabic, but in Lebanon, English is the language of instruction. So they have to start learning those ABCs and all the rest. Most of these kids, because they're pretty close to Syria, their families want to go back to Syria when it's safe, but it's not yet safe, so they can't go. Here they are, just all these kids. They're little fireplaces or whatever that is, stoves, inside each of the classrooms. Because it's kind of cold there, and so you kind of warm up. This is Steve, my friend, and then our driver bodyguard, Roger. Roger and I when we went to this one refugee camp. It was a sunny day. I think I told you this, and I took off my coat, and I was like, "Ooh, sun's out, guns out," and he was like, "Guns out? Oh, I'll keep you safe." And I was like, "All right, thanks." Like that doesn't translate very well. This is the director, this woman, director of the school, and just to look, this is the area. So this is in Lebanon, looking out towards Syria, where these kids have come to live temporarily in the school.
How far is Syria?
That's a good question.
Base of those hills or over the hills?
No, not those hills. So it's just probably, let's see where we oriented. It's within about 2 hours. You could get to Syria from there. It's pretty close. Lebanon's not a big country. You've been to Israel, some of you, and it's a really small country. Lebanon's also pretty small. But it's a great, beautiful kind of location. In Beirut, we also met this couple who are friends of some friends of ours here, and a really different slice of life. This guy graduated from Georgetown Law. He works for PricewaterhouseCoopers as an international business guy with his wife. They have like this amazing apartment with these views. Super well educated. He went to Berkeley, and they told us their perspective on everything, which was different from kind of like that refugee street level perspective. But he gave us a whole history lesson. He's kind of like a lecturer. He was like walking tours, so he gave us a walking tour in his living room. It was okay. We went to this place called Shatila and Sabra and Shatila, which are two kind of combined refugee camps in Beirut for Palestinian refugees. So this I talked about a little bit as well. 70 years ago or so, the state of Israel was born, and some Palestinians were displaced, and some of those went to Jordan, some went to Egypt, some went to Syria, some went to Lebanon, and some of these women came to Beirut, Lebanon as children, as 2-year-olds, and now they're grandmas, and they were still living in this place. And so they're part of this group. It's a Christian-related school. Everyone is Palestinian Muslim in the school. So it's another example of kind of how groups work together or across lines. I do a video. Say, okay, who's from? Is it Syria?
سوريا
Syria?
Syria.
Syria?
اللي من سوريا يرفع ايده ما عليه يلا ارفع from Syria لايك
It's good?
هاي لنا ما عليه هاي لنا خلوا لنا هاي لنا
Oh, you love Palestine. Palestine.
فلسطين
Palestine. Okay.
هون كله فلسطين
Palestine. Okay. Hello. We walked around the school and saw kind of more classrooms. I visited so many schools this trip. It was like a ton of schools. Here they were learning to fix iPhones. This kid can fix an iPhone, we said. Which is kind of cool. Little kids. This is Scott Parker, our missionary, and he works in this school sometimes. He does a puppet ministry for kids who are coming out of trauma situations. So it's kind of like Mr. Rogers-esque, where it's really like you can't talk to an adult, you're scared about stuff, you can talk to kind of a puppet and talk through your feelings, and that's kind of one of his approaches. He gives out finger puppets to little kids everywhere he goes. Some of the kids at this school, when we got there, pulled out of their pocket the finger puppets from the last time he'd been there. So they kept them, they remembered them. We went out from that school into the camp itself, and just wanted to show you. This is our tour guide. So we're just walking around. And I'll see if our time is good. We're doing well. So when I say refugee camp, it's kind of just like an urban apartment complex or neighborhood. It's kind of a slum in a way. It's kind of not organized very well in terms of space. Electricity and water is all mixed up together. You can see what we're walking through. Doesn't smell very good. It was a beautiful day, and you can imagine it really like a rainy day being really terrible. But a beautiful day is okay. A lot of kids, people have been here for a long time. Narrow streets, kind of like a New York tenement, 19th century style, you know, real cramped. Here we are walking through. You see a lot of Arafat in everywhere you go over there. The power lines are just like a nest above you. Streets, people just selling things and kind of going everywhere. Yeah, there's Arafat in there, but just a tangle of people. This guy is a martyr. He died in some format, I don't know, but there he is with his gun and just is remembered by his friends. You see a lot of those too. Mostly young men martyred in different ways or killed in different ways. More Arafat. This is the Palestinian Youth Center, which looks pretty bleak just to me. I was like, oh, that's your youth center? Like, all right. Roger, up for adventure. I like that shirt. Here I am and walking around. All right, let me see. So just to give you a sense of the space. Or is it just like a delay? Anyway, this is what it looks like. A little bit, actually, like maybe like if you've been to Tijuana on some of our Mexico mission trips, reminiscent of that, or some other places like that. This is a map of Lebanon, and all those dots are refugee camps.
Wow.
Whoa. It's a ton of refugee camps. This is downtown Lebanon, Corniche. There's the snow-capped mountains, the Mediterranean. A lot of people walking and running. I'll just give you a sense of how it looks there. There's also super yachts. There's a lot of yachts. Anyway, okay. Then I got on a plane and flew to from Beirut to Istanbul to Kigali, Rwanda to Kampala, Uganda, to Entebbe. I was picked up by our own Mary Akio and her nephew Deo, and it was the middle of the night, so we went and got coffee at like 2 a.m. and then at a gas station, and then we drove to where we were staying, and by the time we got there, it was really morning, and this is how it looked when I kind of came out of where I was staying. We were staying in this sort of, Ron, where's Ron? Ron Dickel. Oh, there he is. Yeah, Ron. Is it a resort? That's the wrong word for it. A swamp retreat? A swamp. We're staying in a classy swamp. There's Mary, and she had picked up Ron and Gabriel the night before. So we gathered. There's our team. Here's who I was traveling with for this part of the trip. Ron Dickel. Ron, will you give us? There he is. You know Ron. Wow, what a guy. He'll see him. Mary, who you know, and actually her daughter is here. I think back there. Yeah. Yay. Nice to see you. That's Emma. And then Gabriel is up there, who couldn't be here tonight. He has to work. He's working right now, but he was with us. And then Deo, who's the nephew of Mary and was our driver while we were going everywhere. So we just toured around and saw a number of things. We went to this house. This is at a house that Gabriel has rented, one of two houses that he rents to house students when they're off of a school break. They're in residential schools, so when they're off on a school break, they go and live in this house together, far from home, far from the refugee camp where is their home. So this girl right here has like a case of malaria, so we were bringing her back and forth to the hospital, Gabriel was, and so Ron and I were sitting around a lot in some ways, and Mary was there. We met with a number of South Sudanese girls and students, boys and girls, in the school. This is in Kampala, which is in the south of Uganda. So these are a lot of South Sudanese students who were there, and I've talked about this. One of the kids who's in this school, who's in our program that our church helps support, went home on a school break to South Sudan and was killed within just the violence that was happening at that time. So it's a very unsafe place to return to. Again, there's a reason these are refugees. So this is a meeting where we were talking with them about their friend and saying we had heard about their friend who had been killed. We were talking about maybe moving them in schools and just figuring out the situation. So there they are, some of the students. That was a secondary school, high school, and then we went to a primary school. And you know, how many cute kids can you get a picture of at a primary school? Ron has like 1,000, he sent them to me. He blew up my phone. Just super cute, they're in uniforms. These are nice schools, good schools for kids to be in. A lot of families want their kid in school. They see education as kind of the future key. And so they're all kind of advocating to get into school. Let's see if we have a quick one here. Hello. So these are dorms up above where the students live. This is an elementary school. These are dorms. So, a lot of cute little kids. They stay there. They do their own washing. They eat communally. They go to school. Sunday they go to church all together. Play soccer. Yeah. So there's Ron talking to his kids. So a lot of these kids are Ugandan. Most of these kids are Ugandan in this school, and their families might be close by, and this is the school they're in. On school breaks, they see them. That's mostly when they see them. They're residential students. The part of the issue with the South Sudanese is this is really far from the border with South Sudan, which is where most of the refugee camps are. So it's too far to go home. So a lot of them that's why they stay in Kampala, and that's also why we're in the future probably not going to have students in the south of Uganda. We're going to have them mostly up in the north in Gulu, because it's just more convenient to them and for us.
Dave, how many teachers are in the school?
Ron, how many teachers are in the school?
Teachers, these schools are about 700 kids, so you have one teacher for every 50.
Yeah, that's what we heard from the classrooms.
Teachers make $1,000 a year.
Now, are they still paid by the government or separately?
Paid by the government, and the government moves the teachers around.
Yeah. So teacher salary, $1,000 a year. Jeff?
Do all the kids show up for school when they're supposed to, without any help from parents?
Good question. The kids who live here, they all show up. We witness a little bit of corporal punishment that is practiced in schools, so you should show up. Yeah, these kids don't go home and have to come back later. They're really motivated for education. Families are there begging to have their kid somehow get into this school, so it's a big deal for them. Sharon? This is a Boyamba school. This is God Cares primary, which is like God's Care secondary, Boyamba. Yep. I had on the other hand. Playing soccer. This is Gabriel with Rhoda's sister, right? Yeah, Rhoda's sister's in the middle. So we met her. She's a younger sister. Okay. That's a message to my kids. This is Ron, Mary, and me at Mary's cousin's restaurant, where I went once. You went twice. Yeah. We had a good time there. Ron washing his hands after going to the bathroom, and then they have this sort of hand washing is important, sanitation, just like us. Good. Traffic was a big thing. Holy smokes. Traffic was, right? In Kampala, it was bad. So anyway, that's just what that is. We saw a cultural music show one night where we were staying. So, all right, you want to see some dancing? Let's see. This show was 3 hours long, or 4 hours long. It was a really long show. I couldn't believe what they were doing. As part of it, they started putting pots on their head. You can see this picture of these young women with pots on their heads. And then this gal, she started, how many pots does she? It's 6 pots? Yeah, they keep adding more. She added 3 more after this. It was crazy. Yeah, it was amazing. Mary, just saying hi. Okay. I'll say something about Mary. One of the really highlights of this trip for me, and I think for Ron also, was to see Mary in her home setting, her home country. We all know her from our church here. People have said, why is Mary here? Her daughter Emma is probably part of the reason she's here, but Mary really is from Uganda. She is a very important woman in her community. She is the matriarch of her community. She's the largest landowner. She has the biggest house. Everyone who wants to do something asks her for advice or permission or to see if they should do it. She and her family have built the learning center, the school, the church, the wells. I mean, like, she's a provider for her community. So it was just really cool to see her in that way. And then to see her and Gabriel, who are, Ron and I are like along for the ride with these two who are really in charge, to see them going back and forth about their experiences of life in Uganda, how they thought about things. Gabriel being a refugee who had lived in Uganda, Mary being from Uganda, and having different perspectives. It was really fascinating to see them as leaders, and also to see Mary just as a woman of prominence in her community. It was really cool. So she was so proud. That's part of the reason we went all over the place, is because she wanted to show stuff off. Like, you got to see the Nile River, you got to see the hippos, you got to go to the waterfall, you got to see some giraffes, stuff like that. Hi.
Is Mary not well?
Mary, good, thank you. On Sunday, we heard that Mary had contracted malaria, and I texted with her, and she said she's been to the doctor and is getting treatment, so she didn't seem too worried about it. But yeah, that's what we heard. It may be that she kind of lost her immunity living here for so long and didn't take stuff when she went back. That's what it sounds like. Let's see what this video is. I think this is where we were staying, which was the swamp. Oh no, there's monkeys in here. That's what it is. I'm looking for monkeys. I don't know if you see them. Really lush there.
Yeah, little monkeys.
Yeah.
And the monkeys are gonna attack.
Well. Yeah. Hey. So we squeezed in the back of this 4x4 truck, and 2 in the front, 3 in the back, and we drove all over the place on those really rough roads. Here's the Nile. So we detoured through a game park to get to the Nile for lunch, and we found this really nice hotel. The Nile is big up in that part of the world. I'd never seen it before. And I don't know if this video is going to show you. There's a swimming pool and a cabana. So we'll see if it's in here. But that's the Nile. Flows all the way. Oh, there's a monkey. It turns out you're not supposed to video the monkeys at this place. They scolded me for taking this video. I was like, well, there's a monkey under my table, That's unusual. Come out.
There he goes.
We got to northern Uganda, and Gabriel was there, and these are some students that we met. So up in northern Uganda is where Gabriel is really operating. Gulu is the city, and so Gulu Primary and Gulu Secondary are where we have students that we support as a church, and Helping Hands for South Sudan supports. And then nearby are these refugee camps of South Sudanese. So do you see the geography of it? South Sudanese come south into Uganda as refugees. They're in camps. We take them from the camps, the students, into these schools. The idea is, as they get education, they'll be able to go back to build their country. Their hope is to return to South Sudan and rebuild their country. They don't want to live there forever. They don't want to just chill out. They want to go back and make it better. So we met a lot of students who are supported in schools. This is Gulu, where we were staying. Let's take a look.
We are in Gulu. Scenic little spot.
Ron, there's that square water tower. A lot of people out, but that wasn't because it was the weekend. People are out walking all the time. You see how many folks are there. Got a haircut? Sweet. I thought it looked good. Gabriel and I kind of cruising around. Okay, people are packed on this truck. Oh my gosh. This is the market?
Market.
Look at this truck. Oh gosh. So there's goods and people. Outdoor market space, and then there's also in the background an indoor market. Let's see what these are. Yeah. Oh, slow-mo. Yes. I was filmmaking, you have to... Okay. We walked around a lot. We met the director of this school. This was Gulu Central?
Gulu
Oh, this is Gulu Primary, correct. This is Gulu Primary, the director with Ron. So this is a boarding school, right? Students live here, it's residential. So I think this is the...
For blind students.
Oh, this is the blind students' classroom. That's where we are. Because there's special needs students there too. They have a whole room full of Braille books or manuscripts or something. But it's fair. What's that? I would not say that. It's a nice school, but it's very, it's basic. Here we are with some students. This is where the students live. This is a primary school. So like Abby, your age, they live here without their parents for, 6 months at a time or longer. Mosquito nets for sure. Water, they get their own water. These kids, they have like a matron who kind of is there, kind of in charge, the one mother figure. We met her. They cook communally.
This one. So what are you cooking? What is it? Porridge?
Porridge is over. It's over.
Porridge is over. What is this one then?
Yes, I meant this one.
Wow. That is a big pot, man. Yeah. You have a lot of them. Wow, and here's the wood to burn. Wow, and here's the pots. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. Here's a video.
We met a lot of students, and these are some of the ones who are South Sudanese students. Oops, they were sitting outside to meet us. They don't usually meet under a tree, but they came out to kind of just in the shade with us. Everywhere we went, we had something, an assembly like this, where Ron would talk, Gabriel would talk, Mary would talk, I would talk. We talked them to death. Kind of like me and you right now. All right, so the students, they're just, they're there, a ton of kids. And these are all students who we're supporting through Helping Hands for South Sudan. Gabriel started this organization to help South Sudanese refugees. Our church partners with him. It's run through our church office. Ron helps with the financial kind of oversight. If you are interested in the kids you're seeing here, some of you already support it directly. You can make $500 a year, covers room, board, and education for a student. It's amazing. It's for a whole year for $500. So these are the kids, and we were there with a donation, a large donation we had gotten from someone in the U.S. who said, "Go and get me was it 30 or 50 more kids?"
We have a total of 80 high school and 70 primary schools.
Right. So about 150. Yeah, about 150 kids currently, and on the rise. So anyway, Gabriel would talk, he would tell them about how important education is. Mary would talk, she would tell them about how important women's education is, girls' education. I would talk, I'd tell them some jokes. Just some pictures that were from there. Gabriel was doing work. He was figuring out who we were going to be able to take with us, not with us personally, but that day to decide they could go on to school. There were buses that were arranged to bring these kids out of the camps to the schools, make sure the names were right. This is all school. I think Ron took these pictures. This is Gulu Primary. Just a lot of students. This is in Gulu. This is the indoor of that market. So there's all kinds of stalls, women, mostly, men and women, selling, working, making things. A lot of industry, like 19th century America, on a sewing machine, like a whole bunch of sewing machines in a room just going, making clothes, fixing things, mending things. Pretty cool. We walked around quite a bit there. I had to put this one in. So we were. This is a symbol of. We were trying to go somewhere, and Gabriel was very intent that we help these. We get to this refugee camp. Help these kids. And there were these chairs in this parking place that we couldn't park. And we're like, well, we can't park. We're gonna have to find another place. And Gabriel was like, no, we won't be late. So we got out and we stacked these chairs so we could park. And the guard was like, wait, what are you moving my chairs for? Get out of my chairs. And so we were just teasing him. We're like, nothing will stand in Gabriel's way. Not even these plastic chairs. Get these chairs out of here, So we were just teasing him. Anyway, he was not here to receive the joke. A lot of aid organizations are at work there. We saw signs for, here. Uganda Reach the Aged Association, Food for the Hungry, Resilience Agriculture, Sissy Guest House, well, that's just normal stuff. Jesuit Refugee Service, Seed Effective Uganda, Nile Serving Juniors, all kinds of stuff. We went to this refugee camp near Gulu, a little ways outside. So this is what it looks like with these huts, as I've described, not tents, but huts that the refugees themselves build and live in. Let's see here. Okay, we're still good.
David?
Hey, Mom.
Is there any coordination between all the different support groups in, say, this region?
That's a good question. Good question. Some probably between them. I mean, I think especially those that have external international contacts. It seems like there's an expat community, etc. But it's not centrally planned. That's why there's these age groups, I would think.
Some overlap.
Yeah, some overlap. So you notice Gabriel's wearing a full suit, and he does. Yeah, he was.
I'm sure you guys were underdressed.
We were underdressed everywhere we went. Ron especially, I'll point out. Sorry, that's more inside jokes. Okay. Yeah, so you sort of see how it looks here. Hey. So northern Uganda is drier than in the south. The south is very lush, very green, and it wasn't even rainy season. It was kind of surprising. In the north, it gets drier. They said it's the same kind of terrain as South Sudan, so it's very similar to them. They knew how to make these huts. It wasn't like a new skill. Jackson and Carlo actually last year went to Kenya and were working with people who had lived in huts about ventilation for their cooking. So I was looking for that actually when I was there, Jackson. All right, walking around, greeting people. Hello kids. This guy's making bricks. They make their own bricks all over the place. Abby, how big are the huts? Why don't we see if we see? Oh, there's a lady in a hut. Oh, let's see how big the hut could be. They're not that big. They're enough room to have like 2 beds to sleep in and put some of your stuff. Maybe they're about the size of your room at home. Yep, we're going in there. So people were very interested in Ron's arms. They were rubbing his arms, seeing his hair, his arm hair. Very interesting. We have a picture somewhere with him and this like one old dude who has like white hair. They both had white hair, so they took a picture of them together. Very popular person. There's a lot of kids in this area. These are all students who we help and support, and this is at I think Gulu Central High School. We met with them. These are the girls. The new girls were just starting. They're all high school freshmen, new to the program, new to high school. They're coming from refugee schools, which are not good schools, to really a good school. This, I think I showed this. This is the beginning of school term, so everyone has to bring their own beds, their own footlocker and bedroll. So this guy came on a motorcycle with it. Cool. That's the way to make an entrance, bro. Here's our team again. Then we went to Mary's village called Alwa. And here was our greeting, our welcome party. Women on motorcycles with flags, cheering, guys with a boombox behind us, driving through this dirt road town. This is our welcoming party. By this point, we had lost Gabriel. He went somewhere else, so he wasn't with us, but the 4 of us were there. All right, you'll get the idea. Mary's with us. She's in the car, and she had told them we're coming sometime this time of day. So, kilometer or 2 out, we got picked up, and then there's just people all along the way greeting us, going to this school. Quintessential scenes, you know. Hello. How are you? Good. Sign. There's about 700 students in this school, and they were all out to greet us. And this is the school that Mary attended and that her grandfather built, and that she and her family have helped to extend and make bigger. So it's called and then there's a church, St. Paul's Anglican. There's Ron coming and singing, going and doing. We met the church band. This is their church band. Hey, worship band, check this out. They play on worship on Sunday mornings there. We met the pastor. This is their kind of lay preacher guy, I think.
Should I go in?
All right.
Wait, no, tell Ron to go in there, Dale. That's the video. It's just going.
This is a super welcoming, super warm. I mean, everyone. If we're with Mary, you're fine. You know, they're like, we want you here. We want you to live here forever. They're really nice folks. All right. This is some kids out under a tree, hundreds of students sitting out there. This is the Episcopal priest or the Anglican, I think he's a rector. Ron giving his sermon. Another sermon. These poor kids. Then we went from there to actually the Oliwell Learning Center, which is the project that we support. And we had this great greeting and welcome there. We had, how long was that program?
3 hours.
3 hours. 3 hours of speeches, student performances, an hour-long lecture kind of in there by somebody. About 45 minutes lecture. We cut the tape. This is the solar panels that our church installed there, so they have electricity. There's a water tank system, and this is a well. We were given gifts. Let's see what we have.
Here's a gift coming to us.
That's honeycomb.
Bucket of honeycomb. Wow. And a live turkey.
Yes, that's our live turkey. We let him grow a little longer. We'll be back for him. We went on a walk, Ron and I, out in the fields with some folks, and this is a grain storage unit. So they're the farmers, so they say this is where they keep it so that like rats and other insects can't get into it. They're describing how it works. This is where they used to get water before we put in our well. I think this is their drinking water area. This is a girl who is getting water, on her head. That's a big deal. Beautiful. Just the end of the day and beginning of the day are beautiful times to be there. Middle of the day, it's really hot, but end of the day is nice. It's beautiful, right? Wow.
And it was summer there when you were there because it's opposite.
It was not the hottest season, but it wasn't rainy season either. So it's not as far south, but it's right on the equator. So it's kind of like always around that same temperature probably.
Is it
Yeah.
very humid?
A little, not as much as back east where it's real super muggy. No. This is the PCLG well. Want to check it out?
Okay, this is our PCLG well.
Oh, thank you.
We helped fund.
So people come and pump water, and then there's water runoff over there. Just to give you a picture of it.
Pumps out clean water.
And they use the runoff for like gardens, so they kind of use extra water. They don't waste water. So that's showing.
Down here is collected, and then goes to be used.
And then this is the learning center. Yeah,
Gardens. They use it, like,
that's
vegetables.
not drinking water down there, right?
Over there is the Oliwell Foundation.
They have regular toilets in here that are pretty nice.
That water's for
Alright, you
use
gotta
in
do
this
that.
building. They
There's
have
Ron and his
toilets,
friend.
Modern.
Okay. I think we're good. Okay, we went hiking to a waterfall, the Sippy Falls, right near the border with Kenya. Met some friends there. It was really cool. Steph Curry's there. Hello. I flew from there, as you know, to Kenya, to Nairobi, and Ron and Gabriel eventually met up on the way home, right? You guys came home. I was there just for another weekend, and I went to this church that had a Valentine's Day dinner at their church.
Valentine's dinner.
On a Friday night. I couldn't believe it's like their social hall. This is what it looks like. This is this church where my friend is. A really nice event. Take a look.
Everyone's here. Hello. Great. Just eating. The speaker's about to start. He's over here. Let's see these guys. Oh yeah.
My friend Pastor Edward, and then that's our speaker and the MC. He's like the Beth Berry of their church. He's in charge of stuff.
All right. Happy Valentine's.
Yeah. So I thought it was interesting. There was a singing cowboy. This guy, yeah, he's a young, 20-something guy, and he got the scholarship to learn music. He's a musical person, so he went. And when he went to this program, they all took a different genre, and he somehow got country music. He was singing all Randy Travis country songs with a really good voice, well, you may think that I'm talking foolish. And he wore his hat the whole time. He's a nice guy. And then when you talk to him in person, he's just like a regular kind of East African accent. So really weird, different. Okay, my friend took me around the tea plantations outside of Nairobi. I had never seen tea plantations. This was really beautiful. This is outside of Nairobi, just a little north of there. That's all tea. Lovely.
What kind of tea do they do?
What kind of tea?
Green tea.
Green tea? Black tea? I don't know tea. What do I know about tea? Yeah, Jeff, you know tea?
They have, no, I don't. Do they irrigate that whole area, or is it just naturally rainy?
Yeah, no, this is like a cultivated area. I'm partially showing you the terrain being different in these places because it's just, some places are wild, green, lush, like almost jungly. Some places are dry and kind of like, oh man. And then here it's like cultivated land, so it's really valuable agriculture. They drink a lot of tea there. They also grow coffee. Two more quick ones as you think of questions you want to ask or whatever. This is the tea. Oh, these little cuties. I went and stayed with my friend, Pastor Edward, pronounce it Furi, it looks like Buri, at his home with his wife and kids. And I just got a chance to see what it's like to be a pastor. He's the one I walked around Nairobi with, a friend from Princeton. So our church, through our mission committee, is actually doing some projects with him and with his church, including, check this out, some of you have giving things where like your company matches your gift to the church, like, right? You have that kind of company match. When you do it with PCLG, we have a thing called Benevity, and that's where it goes. That money for Benevity that gets matched like from your pledge, we can't use for like running our church. We can only use it for direct aid and help for people in particular need. So we're supporting his church to do a whole feeding program. They're feeding an elementary school next to their church. Every kid a meal every day for the whole year from our church. And it's all from Benevity. So it's actually like, hey, somebody doubled our gift. Thank you, Intel, or thank you, Google, whoever did it. Thank you. So this is kind of a cool thing. I'm really glad to do that with him, among other projects. So that's Edward. As you know, I served communion with him at his church. That was a great thing to see how they do things in their church. They're a Presbyterian church of East Africa. Some things are very similar. Some things are very different. Kiswahili being one. I think that's the end of my slides. So thank you, James. In just